and today we will discuss about history lesson number 1, that is the rise of nationalism in Europe, and this is the revision lecture which is going on for your upcoming midterm examination. Okay, so let's start this chapter. So first of all, we will start this chapter by writing this very important timeline chart that you can see in your board here. So here few very important events are there that first of all we will note it down, and then we will discuss one by one about each and every event. So I recommend you all to make one very solid timeline chart in your notebook, which will later help you during the revision time. Fine. So here we will start first of all from the 1789. As you all know, 1789 is the year of French Revolution. After that, the next very important year we have is 1804. Then after that we have the next very important year is 1804. What came? 1804, Napoleon has brought his Napoleonic Code. It is also known as Napoleonic Code also and Civil Code also. Okay. Then 1815, Battle of Waterloo took place. You all know about that. Then after that, here series of events we will discuss from 1815. Okay. To 30, 1815 to 30. Now the next very important year is 1830 to 48. So many revolutions will take place in this particular year, that is from 1830 to 1848, that we will discuss in detail. After that we have the next very important year, that is 1861. 1861, finally from here only the nation will start forming. 1861, from here also after the revolution so many states has been formed, that I'll tell you in detail. 1861, then we have 1871, then we have 1801. This is quite not in a sequence, but it is in sequence of the process, that I'll tell you. So it is 1871, then again 1801 is coming. So remember, it is not in a sequence, but when we will discuss about the unification, so here unification of Italy, unification of Germany, and then unification of Britain. So when we are discussing about the unification of Britain, then it is in a process. Okay, so that is why I have included here. Then after that again 1871 we will discuss one very important event. Will start from here 1871, and finally we will discuss 1914. So you can see 1914 is the year of World War One, and 1871 is the year when Balkan region tension will start. So Balkan region was very important reason behind the World War One, that we all know. So these are the sequence of events that we will see in this chapter one by one. We are starting each and every event. So first of all, I am writing the event name here. So event name, please write one by one everyone with me. So here the name of the event is French Revolution. I am writing here French Revolution. French Revolution. Okay. French Revolution took place in 1789. Then 1804, Napoleon. Okay, Napoleon, and Napoleon brought his code that we will discuss very nicely. Napoleonic Code it is called as. Napoleon Code means rules and regulation only. Fine. Then 1815 we will discuss about one very famous battle was there, which is called as Battle of Waterloo, that we will discuss. Battle of Waterloo. Battle of Waterloo. Waterloo doesn't mean that this battle has been taken place in water. No, Waterloo is the name of place that is in Belgium. Okay. Remember, after that 1815 to 1830, so many important events we will discuss here. I am writing here only. Like first of all, I'll tell you about first of all I'll tell you about the conservatives. Conservatives, Then I'll tell you about the liberals. And meanwhile, I'll also tell you about the society of the entire, particular Europe, that how the peasants were there, how the rich people were there. Fine. So this also I'll tell you in detail. So that society structure I'll explain here. Society, fine. Society, then conservatives, liberals, and within liberals we have one very important concept here which is called as Zollverein, है ना? So Zollverein also I'll explain you in this particular one only. Fine. Zollverein. So Society Conservative Liberals and Zollverein, although Zollverein formed in 1834, but just you try to understand the concept here, है ना? So Society Conservatives will discuss, Liberals, and then Zollverein will also discuss. But remember the year of Zollverein formation is 1834, है ना? Then after that the next one is 1830 to 1848. Here na 1830 to 1848 is also called as the age of revolution. What it is called as the age of revolution, है ना? So one by one I am writing here. Here this particular one is known as the age of revolution. The age of revolution. Why this is called as the age of revolution? Because here so many revolution took place. So one by one I am explaining you. So here first of all what took place? July Revolution. July Revolution took place in 1830. Remember, July Revolution took place in 1830. After that we have Belgian Revolution, that is also called as Brazil Revolution, है ना? So Belgian Revolution, that again took place in 1830. Remember, if you see the world map, and within world map if you see the European map, है ना? So just on top of France we have this Belgium, and this July Revolution took place in France. Remember, no? Which country? July Revolution, France. Okay. After that, we have the next very important, that is Greek War of Independence. Okay. Greek War of Independence that took place in 1821 to 32. Greek War of Independence took place from 1821 to 32. That we must remember. And after that we have the next very important one is which is called as July Revolution done, then Belgian Revolution, Greek War of Independence, and in between we have the 1848 Revolution also, है ना? 1848 Revolution of France. 1848 Revolution of France. Okay. So remember here, July Revolution is also related to France only, and 1848 Revolution is also related to France only. Okay, that you must remember. After that we have May Revolution also. May Revolution that will be related to Germany. May Revolution will be related to Germany, and here it took place in 1848. Okay, it took place in 1848. After that we have the next very important event here, that is event. Even these are the events. Apart from these events we will also discuss about some ideology, है ना? Some movement, as well as we will also discuss about women also, है ना? So here one particular ideology was very famous here, which was called as Romanticism. So Romanticism we will discuss in this particular part only. Romanticism. You will think that, sir, how you are teaching romantic things in history? No, bhai, this is not related to the romance what you are thinking about. This Romanticism is the cultural movement that I will tell you in detail. So Romanticism, apart from Romanticism, I'll also explain you about the revolutionaries. So Romanticism and then the revolutionaries, I will also explain you revolutionaries. And then at last we'll discuss about women, है ना? And at last we'll discuss about women. What was the condition of women in the European society? That also we'll discuss. So these many things we'll discuss in 1830 to 1848. So you can see so many important events are there. Then after that in 1861 we will basically discuss here. This is also very important topic. 1861 basically. Unification of Italy we will see. What we will see? Unification of Italy. Please write. Unification of Italy. Okay, unification of Italy. Then 1871 we will discuss about one more country, that is unification of Britain. Okay, unification of Britain. After that we have 1801, where we will discuss about unification of, here we will have unification of Britain, and here we will have unification of Germany. Please correct it everyone. Unification of Germany. Fine, unification of Germany will come here. Unification of Germany, and here we will have unification of Britain. In beginning I have told you, strange case of Britain, it is also called as unification of Britain. Okay, unification of Britain we will see here. And after that we have the next very important year, that is here 1871. So 1871 we will discuss two things, that is here we will discuss nationalism and imperialism. Okay, nationalism and imperialism. Imperialism, and we will also discuss about tension in Balkan region. Okay, tension in Balkan region. Okay, tension in Balkan region. So these two things we will discuss here, and at last, ultimately, we will discuss about the last very important final part, that is, you all know, World War One. Fine. So World War One we will see in this last part. So I hope this is very much clear to everyone that what are the things that we will discuss in this particular chapter. So let's start one by one about each and every topic. Okay. So here we are starting first of all from the France. So French Revolution will start, and our target final year is World War One, that you can see in 1914. Fine. So let's start here. So basically French Revolution we have started. So you all know French Revolution took place in 1789. Before the French Revolution, I just want to tell you about the name of the chapter. That is also very very important. That is Rise of Nationalism in Europe. So what is the meaning of nationalism and what is the meaning of Europe? So Europe is a continent that you all know. So here basically we will discuss about European continent, all the countries you can see here, whether it is Italy, whether it is Germany, whether it is Britain, whether it is Belgium, Greek. Okay, all the countries are related to the European continent only. Fine. This Balkan is also in Europe only. Fine. So this is something which is very very important. The next one is nationalism. So what is the meaning of nationalism? So nationalism is the feeling of love, pride and respect for your country. That is called as nationalism, है ना? So how this nationalism emerged in Europe, and how the nation state concept came in Europe, that also we'll discuss. See, previously all the countries were monarchic country. Monarchic country means they were ruled by the king and queen. Fine. But later all the country became the nation. The constitution implemented, the particular system of elections also took place. So basically the particular monarchic system was replaced by the republican system, है ना? So that we will see how this all changes took place in the European continent. So this particular changes we will see from French Revolution. Fine. So as you all know, in class 9th only we have seen the French Revolution that took place in 1789, and this French Revolution has established the republican government in France, and this French Revolution has given the message of equality, liberty and fraternity to the entire people of the world. And this French Revolution has also taught us that if we are united, if the common people are united, then they can also defeat the king of their country. Fine. So the same thing they have done. Okay, and they have dismissed and they have ended the monarchic system, and they have started the republican government in France. But since you all know that the republican government or the democracy in France was very new concept, the people were not having experience properly, and that is why, due to lack of experience, they did some mistakes. And this particular mistakes, basically you all know that once this French Revolution happened, the Jacobin Club came in the France and the Maximilien Robespierre did so much harsh implementation of the policies. That period was known as the Reign of Terror. After that we have seen the Directory rule, and Directory rule was also fighting with each other. Really, the members of the Directory rule was fighting with each other only, and that is why the people were not happy with the Directory rule, and that is why here in the France, people wanted some strong leader, some strong character who can really liberate the people from their all sufferings. And they have seen this particular things in one great character whose name was Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, so since I already told to you that democracy was very new concept in France and people were not having any experience to handle it, for the first time they were enjoying power in their hand. That is why they could not control that power properly, and they started fighting with each other, especially the directed rule. And this particular became the symbol of weakness, and this weakness were taken advantage by the great leaders such as Napoleon Bonaparte. So few things I'll tell you about the Napoleon Bonaparte. So Napoleon Bonaparte, as you all know, in class 9th also you have seen, was a great character, and he was a very good leader also, and he was excellent in speaking, and he was also the military commander. He was coming from the common family, but because of his extraordinary skills he became the commander of the army. So with the help of army and with the support of people, he changed the democratic government and he established his own rule, his own government, that is called as Napoleonic government. And finally in 1804 he will declare himself as the emperor of France, as well as he will also bring so many rules and regulation which will be called as civil code. Why? Because the citizens will follow, and it is also known as Napoleonic code. Why? Because Napoleon has introduced it, when he has did this all things in 1804. So you can see here 1804 I have written that Napoleonic code has been launched by Napoleon for the proper management of the country. But before starting this Napoleonic code, some more interesting thing I just want to tell you about the French Revolution. So when this French Revolution took place, now it has given so many things to not only the Russia but to the entire world. For example, this particular topic is called as how the collective belonging came in the heart and mind of the people of France. Because it is not only the process where you are collecting the land and you are making the country. No, you are making the country by joining the land. It is okay, but you have to develop this sense of collective belonging, the sense of patriotism, the sense of nationalism in the heart and mind of the people. And for that purpose, the French government have did some particular changes. First of all, they have brought the concept of la patrie and les citoyens, है ना? So what is la patrie and les citoyens? I'm telling to you. Like in India, we are saying na Bharat Mata. So whenever we are saying Bharat Mata, so we all are feeling united. Why? Because Bharat Mata is our personification of motherland, that is our India. So similarly in France now the people were talking about fatherland. So la patrie and les citoyens. So la patrie means fatherland. Okay, the all citizen of the France was the son of the father, their land, that is fatherland. And les citoyens means citizens. So all the citizens of the France are the citizen of the France, that is personified here as a fatherland. Okay, so in India, like we have motherland, our Bharat Mata, fine, our country India. So similarly in France, the people were considering their country as their fatherland, fine, and they all are the citizen of their country. So that is this concept is known as la patrie and les citoyens. When this particular fatherland concept came, so people were feeling united that yes, they all belong to the same country, that is France. So for bringing unity, for bringing brotherhood, that particular concept was very very important concept, fine. So remember first one, that is la patrie and les citoyens. Apart from that, they have also brought new flag which is called as the French flag. You all know the tricolor, है ना, blue, white and red. So this is the famous flag of this particular France. Apart from that, we have the next very important particular point here, that in this particular France, they have also given a new national anthem which is called as Marseillaise. And they have also replaced, you all know about the state general, है ना? So previously state general was there, and now they have the National Assembly, fine. So so many changes they have done. Once again I'm repeating. First of all, the concept of la patrie and les citoyens, the concept of national flag, the concept of this state general was replaced by National Assembly, as well as I have told you about the national anthem, as well as they have also made their particular language, France, French people, were speaking in French language, and other local dialects of the France has been neglected, and only French language has become the national language of France. So this type of so many changes they have done over the period of time. As well as one more very important thing I just wanted to tell you here, that the concept of nationalism what emerged in France. So the government of the France wanted to take this particular feeling of nationalism, idea of nationalism, to other parts of the Europe also. So this task has been given to the army of France, and the army of France has were going to the foreign countries, and they were spreading the idea of nationalism. So this type of things were there in this French Revolution. So these are the ideas of collective belonging. So when the question will come that related to the collective belonging, so you will write about this national flag, है ना, about the language, that is French language, about the La Patrie and Les Citoyens, है ना, about the national anthem. So these many points you will add in this particular collective belonging. I hope this is clear to everyone. After that, since it is a revision lecture, that is why I'm not writing in detail whatever I'm dictating, है ना, you can stop the video and you can make notes wherever you want. Fine. So here the next one we'll discuss about the Napoleonic Code. So remember everyone, Napoleonic Code is having positive points also and negative points also. So I'll tell you one by one. So here I'm just writing Napoleonic Code was having positive points also and negative points also. Okay, so here positive and negative both points are there. So one by one I am telling to you about the positive and negative points of Napoleonic Code here. So first of all we are starting from the positive points. So as you all know, initially people were seeing Napoleon as a liberator of their all problems, and starting time he was very good also, but later some mistake he has done, and I'll tell you. Fine. So first very important good thing was he brought the system where everyone will be equal, everyone will be treated equally in front of law, and the particular privileges based on birth has been abolished. Okay, so one by one I'm just telling to you point wise, है ना. First one is everyone will be equal in front of law. The second one is privileges based on birth has been abolished. Abolished means finished. The third one is the particular farmers and peasants have been freed from the serfdom. This serfdom means what? Serfdom is a kind of slavery that these peasants and farmers were facing. Actually these peasants and farmers were very poor, and sometimes they have to take loan from the big money lenders and landlords, and in return the people were exploiting them. Okay, so now nobody can exploit peasants, farmers and workers. So they basically freed from the serfdom. The fourth point is he also abolished the feudal system. As I was telling to you, feudal system means the concept of the system where the big landowners, the big landlords, they will give money, or they give their particular land to the poor farmers, poor workers, and in return they are taking huge amount of returns from these peasants and workers. And if they are not able to repay them, the people are exploiting these poor workers and peasants, है ना. So this concept is known as feudal system, which was finished by the Napoleon Bonaparte. As well as the next very important point is he also improved the communication and transportation facility a lot in this France. So he has did so many good changes. Once again I am repeating, the first one is he also has given the protection of private property, and he has also launched standardized weights and measurement system. He also brought uniform system of currency in France for simplification of the business. Okay, so many good things he has done. So once again I'm repeating, first point was he has he has said that everyone will be equal in front of law. The second point, he said that the privileges based on the birth has been finished. And the third point was that he improved the transportation and communication system. The fourth point was feudal system has been finished. The farmers and peasants has been freed from the serfdom, as well as protection of private property. These were the points collectively if you want to talk about the positive point, है ना. If you are writing minimum 5 points, then it will be more than enough, but at least write 7 to 8 points, 6 to 7 points at least you must write, so that you will remember at least 5 points in the time of examination, है ना. And whenever 5 marks question is coming, you should always write, you know, few additional points. Suppose 5 marks question came, so you should always write 6 to 7 points for being in a better side, safer side, है ना. So that is something which is very important. Now you see the negative. So in negative you remember 3 very important things. That one particular very important thing is Napoleon has increased the tax. So whenever you are increasing the tax now, then prices of the product always increases, and whenever the prices of the product will increase, the common people will suffer a lot, है ना. So he increased the tax. The second one is he forcefully the second one is he also imposed censorship. So what is the meaning of censorship? Now you cannot criticize Napoleon Bonaparte and his policies, and if you will criticize, you will be under jail and you will get punishment. So this is second very important, negative point. And the third one is he was forcefully recruiting people into the French army. So this is very important negative point. This is the third one. I'll explain you in detail the third one. First of all, I'm repeating. The first one was he increased the tax. The second one was he also imposed censorship, where people cannot criticize Napoleon Bonaparte as his policies. And the third one was he forcefully recruiting people into the French army. So why he was recruiting people forcefully into the French army? Because he wanted to expand his territory, है ना. He was very ambitious leader and he always wanted to expand his territory. First of all, he wanted to be the leader of the entire France, then entire Europe, and then entire world. So already he has become the emperor of the entire France. Now he wanted to be the leader of the entire Europe. So how he will be the leader of the entire Europe? By capturing over others' land, है ना, others' country. And for that he need large army, and for that purpose only he was recruiting people into the French army. But it was forceful recruitment. People were not feeling. Then also Napoleon Bonaparte was recruiting them into the French army forcefully. Sometimes people are very happy doing farming as a worker, but he was recruiting them into the French army, and then he was sending to the foreign country, go and fight, and if you are dying, he don't have to care about it, fine. So that is why this particular policies of the Napoleon Bonaparte became very unpopular. And you must think also that when you are attacking on foreign country, on others country, then they will become your friend or they will become your enemy. So the common answer is that they will become your enemy, and that is why over the period of time Napoleon Bonaparte has made so many enemies also, and these all enemies have attacked Napoleon Bonaparte in this Battle of Waterloo, है ना. So remember, Battle of Waterloo took place between Napoleon Bonaparte, who was representing France, and the enemy countries who was not happy with the expansion policy of Napoleon Bonaparte, fine. So here one side we have the France, and other side we have the group of countries who are known as BRAC. So here France was represented by Napoleon Bonaparte, as you all know. Here BRAC full form is Britain, Russia, Austria and Prussia. Once again I am repeating: Britain, Russia, Austria and Prussia. These all 4 countries were monarchic countries. What I said, these all 4 countries were monarchic countries, and these all and here since Napoleon Bonaparte was not coming from any royal family, that is why Napoleon Bonaparte will be called as dictator, fine. So here the people were monarchic and here Napoleon Bonaparte was dictator. Napoleon Bonaparte was trying to capture over others' land, that is why these people wanted to teach lesson to the Napoleon Bonaparte, and they attacked on France in this Battle of Waterloo, fine. And ultimately you can see 4 big countries are there, on other side only France is standing. So finally who will win? Very simple guessing work is there. So who will win? This BRAC won and France defeated in this particular battle. And once France defeated, but remember the Napoleon Bonaparte, who was representing France, he lost the battle, he lost his kingdom, but he has not died. He left this particular place, and he went to one particular island which is called as Saint Helena Island, and in Saint Helena Island finally he will die in 1821 through natural death. Okay, remember. So this is something which is very important. Before Battle of Waterloo, one more battle took place, which is also called as Battle of Leipzig. So Battle of Leipzig took place in 1813, in which Napoleon Bonaparte also, in that battle also he lost, but that is not that much important, because although he lost, but he could not, but the loss could not affect Napoleon Bonaparte that much. But here in this Battle of Waterloo, which took place in 1815, after getting defeat here, the entire rule of Napoleon Bonaparte was finished in France, and he has to he has to left his country, and he went to Saint Helena Island, and there he will die in 1821. So till now I think picture is very much clear. After that, the next very important part is here we will see the next very important part here is this all country will not leave France easily. So this particular country will impose some treaties over this particular France. Fine. These treaties I'll write here. Treaty. What is the meaning of treaty? Treaty means agreement. What is the meaning of treaty? Treaty means agreement, and this treaty took place in the place which is called as Vienna. Okay. Vienna. Fine. So this treaty took place in Vienna, and this is also called as Treaty of Vienna. Understood, na? The treaty in which Bragg has imposed penalties over the France, and this particular treaty or agreement is known as Treaty of Vienna, and this took place in Vienna. Where is Vienna? Vienna is in Austria. Okay, so this you must remember. Where is Vienna? Once again I am repeating, Vienna is in Austria. One more thing I just want to tell you that this particular agreement or meeting was this particular agreement where it was happening now. So this entire meeting has been conducted by Austrian Chancellor, whose name was Duke Metternich, है ना? So Duke Metternich, you always remember, this particular Treaty of Vienna has been conducted by Duke Metternich. Duke Metternich. I am writing especially his name Duke Metternich. Why? Because he has given some famous statement which became very popular, and in board examination this particular statement comes that who has given this statement. Like suppose one example I am giving to you. When France sneezes, the rest of the European catches the rest of the Europe catches cold. So this famous statement has been given by Duke Metternich. Duke means prince. What is the meaning of Duke? Duke means prince. D-U-K-E Metternichs. So Duke Metternich is a very famous personality, and later when I will tell you here, so his statement I'll use, and you must remember his name, है ना? And his statement always comes in board examination. Okay. Now the next very important topic is what are the provisions, what are the points within the Treaty of Vienna. So this also comes in examination, that explain Treaty of Vienna, and you have to explain all the points. So here you all know, first one is Treaty of Vienna took place in 1815, and it took place between two very important group. One is France only alone is standing, and the second one is Bragg, that is Britain, Russia, Austria and Prussia. So Britain, Austria, Russia and Prussia, they all four countries have imposed penalty on France. So the first very important penalty was that in France the monarchic system will restore. You all know right now dictatorship was going on. Napoleon Bonaparte was dictator. So now dictatorship will over, and what will start? Democracy will not start. What will start? Monarchic system will start. Why monarchic system? Because these all four countries are monarchic countries. So they will bring back a monarchic system only. Fine. So monarchic system was restored in France, and you all remember in class 9th if you have seen properly. So in France they were having one very royal family which was known as Bourbon family, है ना? So Bourbon dynasty was restored, and here the king who will represent France from 1815, and the name of the king will be Louis XVIII, not 16, na bhai. Louis XVI was there in French Revolution of class 9th, and he died in 1793. Okay. Now here we will see Louis XVIII. So Louis XVIII will be the king of France from 1815 to 1824, and from 1824 one new king will be there who will be Charles X. Why Charles X will come? Because Louis XVIII will die in 1824, है ना? So after his death, new king will be there, that is Charles X. Okay. So Charles X will represent France till 1830. Why? Because in 1830 in France, what will happen? July Revolution will happen, है ना? So once again I'm repeating first point. Once again I'm repeating. The first point is dictatorship ended in France, monarchic system started in France. So monarchic system is the rule of king, है ना? So who was king? King will be first, king will be from 1815 to 1824 will be Louis XVIII, and in 1824 he will die. That is why who will replace? Charles X, and Charles X will be the king from 1824 to 1830. Why till 1830 only? Because in 1830 July Revolution took place in France, in which Charles X has to abdicate from his post, है ना? So remember till 1830 only. Fine. After that, who will which dynasty will come in France? Which particular royal family will be there? So remember the name of the royal family. The name of the royal family was Bourbon family, Bourbon dynasty. Fine, you all know about it. So this is the first point, that is very famous point. Now the second one is, first point is basically the most important point. Now the second point is, now France cannot do expansion, and to stop their expansion, in the boundary area now, the boundary of the France were limited, so that the France later in future cannot do further expansion. For example, in the border area of France, they have set up in north, like for example, I'm telling you Belgium. So if you will see in European map now, so just on top of France you have the Belgium. So they have set up Belgium over the France, so that France cannot extend its particular boundary in north area. Similarly, they have set up some countries in the south, some countries in the east, and some countries in the west, so that the boundary of the France were limited and they cannot do further expansion. Fine. The third very important point is, all the territory which has been annexed by the France under the leadership of Napoleon Bonaparte will be returned. Okay, means they will lost, or they will lose all the particular territory what they have won under the leadership of Napoleon Bonaparte. And the fourth one is, the winning countries will get some particular territories as they have won the battle. So for example, Russia has got the part of Poland, the Prussia has got the part of Saxony, and as well as the Austria has got the part of North Italy. So remember, once again I'm repeating, Austria has got the part of North Italy. So when I'll explain you about this one, that is unification of Italy now. So here North Italy, remember, so North Italy who will capture? Austria, है ना? So this you must remember ना. In Treaty of Vienna, the North Italy part has been given to Austria, and here I'll ask you that who was controlling North Italy? So North Italy will be controlled by Austria. I hope till here picture is clear. So this is all about this Battle of Waterloo and Treaty of Vienna. I wanted to tell you. From here now, 1815 to 1830, I'll tell you about the society, conservatives, liberals, and Zollverein. So this is very interesting, है ना? So so far one very short recap. So far we have seen the French Revolution. After French Revolution, democracy came in France, which could not last for more time because of lack of experience. They were fighting with each other, and this particular lack of strength, lack of unity were taken advantage by Napoleon Bonaparte, and Napoleon Bonaparte dismissed democratic setup in France and started dictatorship, है ना? And when he became the emperor of France, he brought two very important civil code he brought, that is also called as Napoleonic Code, which was having two sides, positive as well as negative, that I have already told you. Biggest problem of the Napoleon was his over ambition, and he always wanted to expand his territory. That is why by the passage of time he made so many enemies such as Britain, Russia, Austria, and Prussia, and that is why these enemy countries attacked on France, and this is famously called as Battle of Waterloo. Waterloo is the name of place which is in Belgium. Okay, so obviously one country versus four countries, so this particular group of four countries will win the battle, and France lost the battle. And after getting defeat, this BRAP has imposed penalty over France through one treaty which is called as Treaty of Vienna. Treaty of Vienna took place in Vienna, that is in Austria, and Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich has conducted the entire meeting, and the provisions just now I have explained to you. After that, now I'll explain to you about this period, that is 1815 to 1830. Although some particular period like Zollverein you can include in 1834 also, but since 1834 is all about the age of revolution, so I have included all the revolutions and some ideologies and movement. Okay, so Zollverein is related to this liberalism, that is why I have included here Zollverein, है ना? So one by one I'll tell you about each and everything, that is from 1815 to 1830. what happened, I'll explain you everything in detail. So let's start this. So first of all, you see here, that is society. Fine. So society of the entire Europe now was not based on equality, because some people were extremely rich and maximum people were extremely poor. The people who were extremely rich, they were called as aristocrats, है ना. So aristocrats are the upper class people who are extremely rich, and their number was less, their power was very high, they were completely dominating the entire European society. Whereas on the other side, the peasants were there, whose number was very high, large, but their power was very less, and they were neglected part of the European society. Fine. Over the period of time when the industrialization started in European countries as well as France and other parts of the Europe, so this industrialization given good profit to some section of the society, such as businessmen, traders and merchants. And these businessmen, traders and merchants, when they got huge profit from the industrialization, so they have invested their money in education, in gaining more ideas, new ideas, and this particular community only, later they will establish new strong middle class, है ना. So this new strong middle class will only do the revolution. Later we will discuss about that also. Fine. So remember, how many type of segments were there? 3. So first one was aristocrats, who were very rich, extremely rich. The second one was peasants, who were poor relatively, and the third one was middle class, है ना. And those middle class became, by the passage of time, very strong, and all the particular major revolution, they will participate very actively in all the major revolution what we will see in upcoming minutes. Okay, so I hope society is clear to all of you. Once again, aristocrats, peasants and middle class. Fine. Then the next one is conservatives. Conservatives are the people who never want to change. They are the people who always believe that the past has to be respected. They were always supporter of the monarchic system, and they were saying that whatever was going on in the past should be there in the present and should continue in the future also. So this is about the conservatives. Always remember, conservatives were supporting monarchic system, means king and queen type of system, है ना. Then the next one we have the liberals. Liberals are the people who are against monarchic system, and they always advocating for the modern thinking, modern ideologies, and they were saying that equality should be there, है ना, and individual rights. So what are their points? I'm telling you one by one. First point was equality before law. Second point was individual freedom. The third point was government by consent, and the fourth point was freedom of market. Okay, once again I'm repeating, equality before law, individual right, government by consent. Government by consent means government should be formed by the people's choice, है ना. That is the meaning, government by consent. People should vote and then the government should form through election. Fine. And the last one was freedom of market. So freedom of market was also the part of this liberalism, liberal policy. And to achieve this freedom of market and to make it more business friendly, this Zollverein was set up. Okay, remember now, once again I'm telling you, to achieve the freedom of market and to bring better environment for trade and business, Zollverein has been set up. So remember, Zollverein has been set up in 1834. When this Zollverein set up? In 1834. Okay, Zollverein was set up in 1834, and basically this Zollverein was initiated from the Prussia. Always remember Prussia. And one more thing you remember, Prussia was the old name of Germany. Always remember, Prussia was the old name of Germany, है ना. So whenever I'll tell you Prussia, so always understand somewhere it is connected to Germany only. Fine. So here it was started from Prussia, and here Zollverein, basically they have removed all the trade barriers what was there in the Germany, as well as they have also reduced the number of currencies from 30 to 2 only. Previously means more than 30 currencies were there, now only 2 currencies are there. Fine. So they have removed around 28 currencies, and now just 2 currencies are there. So that is why they have been working for the simplification, and it was the custom union. So in points I'm telling to you, Zollverein was initiated, Zollverein was formed by the Prussia, है ना. And the second point was it was formed in 1834. The third point was it was the custom union. The fourth point was their function will be to bring simplicity in the market. And the fifth point was they have removed the trade barriers. The sixth point was they have reduced the number of currencies from 30 to 2 only, है ना. So that is all the points that you can write in Zollverein. This also very important topic comes in examination. Okay. After this entire particular topic, now we'll discuss about this one, that is 1830 to 1848, the age of revolution. Fine, as you can see, the liberals are there, the conservatives are there. Conservatives are supporting to the monarchic system, that is king and queen, and liberals are against the monarchic system. So these people have difference of ideologies, and because of that only so many revolution will take place. Fine. So now this particular point we'll discuss from 1830 to 1848, that is the age of revolution. So one by one we will discuss all the revolution. So here we have the first one, that is July Revolution. As I told you already, July Revolution is related to which country? It is related to France, है ना. So what happened? Again coming back to that Charles X, who started ruling over France from 1824 to 1830. So actually when Charles X started ruling over France now, so he did so many unnecessary things. Means he started to control over everything. He started to limit the power, rights of the people, and he started to impose more restrictions. And because of that, people became very angry over Charles X. And as already they have did the French Revolution, so people of France was very energetic that they can do another revolution to change the monarchic system once again. Fine. So July Revolution took place in 1830, and the result of July Revolution is they were also demanding the constitution. The people of the France were demanding the constitution in this July Revolution. So this July Revolution was so successful that the Charles X has to abdicate, resign from his post. And once he resigned, now then two things happened in this particular France. That constitution was set up, constitution, as well as one particular king was also there. King was also there. Okay, so king will not be Charles X because he has already resigned. In place of Charles X, new particular king will be there, whose name will be Louis Philippe. Sometimes it is called as Louis Philippe. So you see the pronunciation, what is the correct pronunciation. Louis Philippe will be the new king of the France, but he will be under the constitution. What I said, Louis Philippe will be the new king of the France, but he will be the under control of constitution. And this particular setup where king is also there and constitution is also there is known as constitutional monarchic system. Once again I am repeating, the system where king is also there, means monarch is also there, and constitution is also there, is known as constitutional monarchic system. And this constitutional monarchic system in France will start from 1830. Once again I am repeating, this constitutional monarchic system in France will start from 1830 and it will last up to 1848. Okay, why? Because you can see again here 1848 in France, again one revolution will take place which is called as 1848 revolution. So we will tell why this 1848 revolution will take place. But before that, I would like to tell you about the Belgian Revolution also and Greek War of Independence also. So one by one we will start. So let's start from the Belgian Revolution. So if you see the world map, and within world map if you see the European map, so just on top of France now we have Belgium. Okay, so you can see the people are very excited in France. They were doing revolution after revolution. So the neighboring country will also get goosebumps now that yes, our neighbors are doing this much revolution, so we can also do the revolution. Similarly, this is also called as dominoes effect. So because of the dominoes effect, the Belgian people also got huge energy, and they also did revolution against their particular government. And on that time now Belgium was under the control of United Kingdom of Netherlands. So they did revolt against the United Kingdom of Netherlands, and successfully in 1830 they were liberated from the United Kingdom of Netherlands. So remember now, when Belgium got freedom, 1830, from whom? United Kingdom of Netherlands. Fine. So this is all about the Belgium. One more thing I just want to tell you, Belgium capital is Brussels, and this you also know because in political science chapter number 1 power sharing you have this particular country as a case study. है ना. So this is all about the Belgium. Now the next one is Greek War of Independence. Okay, so always remember Greek War of Independence started from 1821 and it will last up to 1832. Actually Greek was under the control of Ottoman Empire, है ना. So on that time Ottoman Empire was very powerful place, and today it is known as Turkey, है ना. Present time it is known as Turkey. On that time it was known as Ottoman Empire. So actually you see, this Ottoman Empire was Islamic country and this Greek was a Christian country, है ना. And that is why there is a religious difference. The Greek was also the ancient country of Europe. It is one of the most ancient country of the Europe, and it is also known as the cradle of European civilization, है ना. Greek is also known as Greece, or Greek is also known as cradle of European civilization. Means the European civilization has been started from Greece only. That is why religiously, historically, Greece was very important country of the entire Europe, and that is why European other countries cannot see that one Islamic country is ruling over Greece. So that is why all other European countries have given huge support to the Greece for their independence, and finally with their support, Greek got independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1832, and through one treaty which is called as Treaty of Constantinople, है ना. So what is the name of the treaty? Treaty name is Treaty of Constantinople, that took place in 1832. So I think I am very much clear to all of you. Once again I am repeating, this is very important question, that is why I am repeating here. It comes in 3 marks directly in board examination. Okay, so Greek War of Independence started from 1821 and it will last up to 1832. Finally here Greece was under the control of Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire was Islamic country and Greek was a Christian country. Greek was very important religious country of entire Europe, and it was one of the oldest a place in particular Europe, and it is very famous for their religion, and historically it is very important, and it is also known as cradle of European civilization. And later other European countries have given great support and help to the Greece, and with their support Greece finally got independence in 1832 through one treaty which will be called as Treaty of Constantinople, है ना. This one particular Treaty of Constantinople also asked in 1 mark. The Treaty of Constantinople took place in which year? So which year? 1832. So this you must remember. Then the next one we have is the 1848 Revolution of France. So what is this 1848 Revolution of France? Let's have a look on that. Actually this 1848 Revolution of France happened because of this, that is GED. Okay, GED. So can you tell me what is the full form of GED? So GED full form is Great Economic Depression, है ना. GED full form is Great Economic Depression. Okay, so this Great Economic Depression started from 1830, and the entire world was the effect of this Great Economic Depression was seen in the entire world. What happened actually in this particular period? For particular last few years now, the population of the entire Europe was increasing rapidly, है ना. So you see population was increasing, but according to that the job opportunities were not increasing, है ना. What I said, population was increasing but the job opportunities were not increasing. That is why people became unemployed, and when people became unemployed now, so they were migrating from rural areas to city areas so that they can find better jobs. But ultimately they were not getting any job because jobs were very limited, है ना. So they were moving to cities area. In city area, when the population was increasing, then the balance has been completely disturbed, and apart from that, in this particular time period, the bad harvest were also there because that production came down drastically. Population was increasing only. So since population was increasing, so demand was always high, but supply, the production was very less. So demand is high, supply was less. That is why price of the basic products also increased. And when price of the basic products will increase and people will not have money in their pocket, then what will happen? Normally the revolution took place, है ना. So people thought that in this crisis time we are need support from the king, but king was not doing anything to us, है ना, not supporting to us. Then why we need king? Okay, so that is why they did what? this 1848 revolution, and the result of this 1848 revolution was this Louis Philippe, I have told you here. So Louis Philippe also abdicated from his post, he resigned from his post, and after removal of Louis Philippe, what is left? Only constitution is left only, है ना? So since only constitution is left, here I am telling you, since only constitution is left and no king, nothing is there, that is why after 1848 France will be known as a republic nation. Remember, na? France will be known as a republic nation. I hope this is clear to everyone. Till 1848, I think picture is very much clear. Now we'll come to this May Revolution, that is Germany, है ना? It took place in Germany from 1848. So let's start talking about this one. Fine. So here, basically this took place in Germany, and if you will again see in European map, है ना? One thing I just want to request you all, that you must completely mug up the European map. Where is France? Where is Germany? Where is Poland? Where is Belgium? This completely clear to all. This should be completely clear to all of you. Fine. So here, if you will look Germany now, so Germany is also neighbor country of France. So when after revolution is happening over France now, so German people were also excited. So they also thought that they should also do some revolution. So they did May Revolution. So what is May Revolution? Actually, in this 1848, the people around 831 representatives were there. They have marched to Frankfurt. Actually, Frankfurt is very famous city of Germany. Within Frankfurt now, there is one church which is called as St. Paul Church. So they all have conducted meeting in St. Paul Church, where they have drafted one constitution, and this constitution was presented to the king of Germany, and on that time king of Germany was Friedrich Wilhelm IV. Once again I am repeating the name of the king, Friedrich Wilhelm IV. Okay, so they went to the Friedrich Wilhelm IV and they said that, sir, we have a proposal, do you want to listen? So king said, okay, fine, tell what is your proposal. So they said that, sir, we have one constitution and we want you to accept this constitution, and once you will accept the constitution, you will be under the constitution. Means constitution will be the supreme authority under which everything will be controlled, and you, the king, will take decision according to the constitution. Means you will be below the constitution and constitution will be above the king. Fine. So you tell me, king will accept or king will reject? Okay, so the answer is king has rejected with full angry, and he has given order to the troops, to the military, that go and finish their entire movement. So with the support of army, the entire movement of this 1848 revolution has been suppressed. And one more reason was there behind the easy suppression, that in this particular Frankfurt parliament now, the people from various background was the member, like the rich were also there, the middle class were also there, the poor were also there. So all were demanding different things. Since they were demanding different things, that is why unity was missing in this Frankfurt parliament. Since unity was missing, that is why it was very easy for the king Friedrich Wilhelm IV to suppress the entire movement, and with the help of army, he very easily suppressed the entire movement. So the result of 1848 Frankfurt Parliament was unsuccessful, है ना? So I hope this is clear to everyone. That is May Revolution. So far we have seen, that is July Revolution, Belgian Revolution, Greek War of Independence, 1848 Revolution of France, as well as May Revolution we have seen. After that we have seen, we will start, that is Romanticism. So Romanticism is very important philosophy that I'll tell you, and this Romanticism has been there in previous year board examination multiple times. So you have to see that Romanticism is very important topic. So let's just start about the Romanticism without wasting even a single second. So see, Romanticism is not the romance, it is a cultural movement. Actually in this Romanticism now, people are not talking about the mathematics or the science or the logic, they are talking about the dance, culture, music, language, tradition, belief, thought. So this type of cultural things they were talking about. And there was one very famous philosopher, that is romantic philosopher were there from the Germany, whose name was Johann Gottfried Herder. So Johann Gottfried Herder said that the people, the local people of Germany, who were called as Das Volk, so they should really know their culture, then only the real nationalism can come, है ना. So this is Johann Gottfried. Apart from that, the Polish people, as you all know, Poland was under the control of Russia. I have told you in this Treaty of Vienna, है ना. So Poland was under the control of Russia. So these Russian people were, enforcing their culture, their language, their tradition over the Polish people, which was not liked by Polish people, obviously. So what Polish people, how they were protesting? So Polish people, whenever they have gathering in church, so they were always speaking in their Polish language. Whenever they were releasing an instructions, so they were always giving in Polish language. So they were using Polish language as a tool to protest against the Russian dominance, है ना. So this is also there, that is language. Apart from language, they were also using dance form to reflect and to unite people. Like some dance form were there like Polonaise and Mazurki, which were used to unite the people. So in that way, the romantic movement was highly successful in the European society. And today also you see, whenever any song is played, like when Vande Mataram will be played, we all are feeling united now. So this is the magical effect this song, dance, music, art, painting, they all are having in mind and heart of us. Okay, so I hope this romanticism is clear to all of you. Now I'll tell you about the revolutionaries. Okay, so revolutionaries are the people who are doing this all revolution. So since we are talking about the age of revolution, so we have to discuss about the revolutionaries. Okay, so let's start about the revolutionaries. So basically here now the revolutionaries are the people who are doing the revolution, and here the most famous one was the Giuseppe Mazzini. Okay, remember Giuseppe Mazzini? So Giuseppe Mazzini was from Italy, and his dream was to unite Italy one day, because Italy was controlled by different empire, that I'll tell you after that, है ना. And one more thing I just wanted to tell you, for achieving his target, Giuseppe Mazzini has formed different secret societies. He was himself part of one secret society which was known as Carbonari Secret Society. What is the secret society? So secret society was working secretly against the monarchic system, because on that time everywhere monarchic system was only there, fine. So if they will work openly, then they either can be killed or they can be arrested, and that is why they were working secretly, and hence it was known as secret society. Later, Giuseppe Mazzini himself has formed two secret society, which was known as Young Italy and Young Europe. First Young Italy will come, and the second one is Young Europe will come. Okay, so Young Italy he has established in 1831 in Marseilles, that is in France, and Young Europe he has established in Berne, so in 1834, that you must remember. Okay, so I hope till here picture is clear to everyone. That is about Giuseppe Mazzini. Little bit we will discuss in this unification of Italy also. Okay, so I hope till here picture is clear. Now the last one is women. So here women has participated very actively throughout all the revolution, but they could not get their desired demand. Like they were always demanding from beginning for the voting rights, but they could not get the voting rights, and finally in France, especially if we will talk, so in France women will get voting rights in 1946. So they were not getting voting rights. The second one is, although they were not getting voting rights, but they have allowed to do a number of other activities, like they were free to form political associations, they were free to publish newspapers, and they have also been part of a number of political activities, so these were about the women. After discussing this entire thing, now we'll discuss the next very important part, which is unification of Italy, unification of Germany, and unification of Britain. And in my personal recommendation, one question always comes from this three topic, that is unification of Italy, unification of Germany, and unification of Britain. So one by one we will discuss about each and every topic. Okay, so first of all, let's start from the unification of Italy. So as you all know, Italy, as I have already told you, was not divided, it was divided. That is why we need what? Unification. Since it was divided, that is why we need unification. So remember, Italy, basically it was divided in 7 parts. How many parts it was divided? 7 parts it was divided, Italy. and out of 7 part now, only 1 part was under the control of original Italian king, whose name was Victor Emmanuel II. Okay, and he was the king of Sardinia Piedmont. Fine. So once again I'm repeating, first point was Italy was divided in 7 parts. Out of those 7 parts, only 1 part was controlled by the Italian king, whose name was Victor Emmanuel II, and he was controlling Sardinia Piedmont part. And here the king, the Italy, it was divided. Suppose you can divide it in North Italy, Central Italy, and South Italy. So North Italy, I have already told you here that North Italy was controlled by Austria. So in Austria, we have the Habsburg Empire, Austrian Habsburg Empire it is called. Then the central one is controlled by Pope. So Pope are the religious Christian in Christianity. In Christian religion, the head of the Christian religion is called as Pope. On that time, the religious leaders were given great support by the monarchic system, and they were also given large properties also, to enjoy. So this Pope was controlling the central part, and the south part was controlled by Spain. So in Spain we have the Bourbon dynasty. Bourbon dynasty was not only in France, it was also outside of the France also, like Spain also we have the Bourbon dynasty. Fine. So here 3 parts were there, and north, central, and south. Fine. I hope till here picture is very much clear to all of you. Now to unite this all 3 particular parts together in Italy was huge and humongous task, and this was taken by so many great leaders. Like one, though you can already understand, that is Giuseppe Mazzini. So Giuseppe Mazzini I have told you here, okay, that is revolutionaries. Okay, so Giuseppe Mazzini, I was telling you that his dream was to unite Italy one day, and he tried multiple times by forming secret societies like Young Italy and Young Europe, but unfortunately he was failed. Although he was failed, but his intention was very good. That is why he is known as the soul of Italy. Understood? So who is known as soul of Italy? Giuseppe Mazzini. Okay. After Giuseppe Mazzini, the next very important personality is Victor Emmanuel II. So Victor Emmanuel II is the king of Sardinia Piedmont, and he has initiated to unify all the places of Italy together. And to support Victor Emmanuel II, their one chief minister of his chief minister of Victor Emmanuel II. And he was chief minister of Sardinia Piedmont also. Okay, since Sardinia Piedmont was controlled by king only, that is Victor Emmanuel II, so you can understand. So here chief minister, the name was the Count Camillo di Cavour. Okay, what they said, Count Camillo di Cavour, who was the chief minister from Sardinia Piedmont. So this Count Camillo di Cavour was very clever person. He was diplomatic master, and he was having great friendship with the French army and with the French government. So with the help of French army, the Cavour has attacked on the North Italy. The Cavour has attacked on the North Italy in 1859, and he successfully included this North Italy into the main Italy, and he defeated Austrian Habsburg Empire. Who defeated? Count Camillo di Cavour. Who was Count Camillo di Cavour? The chief minister of Sardinia Piedmont. Remember, what is Sardinia Piedmont? Sardinia Piedmont is one part of Italy. Who was the king? Victor Emmanuel II was the king from Sardinia Piedmont. I hope till here picture is clear. Now one more great leader was there from Italy, whose name was Giuseppe Garibaldi. So Giuseppe Garibaldi was a very strong personality, and he was a warrior, and that is why he was known as the sword of Italy. Remember, Giuseppe Mazzini was known as soul of Italy, and Giuseppe Garibaldi was known as sword of Italy, and he was also having his own army, which was called as Red Shirts. So with the help of his army, and with the help of the common people also, he attacked on the South Italy in 1861 you can see here, and he successfully defeated Spanish Bourbon empire, and he included this South Italy into the main Italy. Fine. So in that way, the North Italy, South Italy both united in main Italy. And when this Austrian Habsburg Empire, Spanish Bourbon dynasty has been defeated, so Pope got threatened. So he himself surrendered, and the Central Italy automatically came in main Italy. So in that way, the unification of Italy took place. And after the unification, the King Victor Emmanuel II, who was the king of Sardinia Piedmont, now he will become the king of the entire Italy. And the chief minister of Sardinia Piedmont, who was Count Camillo di Cavour, Count Camillo di Cavour is also known as Mind of Italy. Why? Because he is very, master in diplomatic skill, and he was very clever. That is why he was known as Mind of Italy. So Victor Emmanuel II will become the prime minister. Sorry, Victor Emmanuel II will become the king of the entire, Italy, and Count Camillo di Cavour will become the prime minister of the entire Italy. है ना? So I hope this is clear to everyone, that is unification of Italy. Now, very quickly we will discuss about the unification of Germany. Fine. Before starting unification of Germany, one thing I just want to tell you, that Giuseppe Garibaldi, as I told you, he was also known as Sword of Italy, as well as he will be known as Bismarck of Italy. So who is Bismarck? I'll tell you here. है ना? So here now two personalities we'll see. The first one is King Kaiser William I, and the second one is Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck. Okay, so first one is Kaiser William I, and the second one is Otto von Bismarck. So these two very important personalities we'll discuss in this unification of unification of Germany. है ना? So as I told you, Germany previously it was known as Prussia only. So here now the unification of Germany process started from the Prussia. Actually on that time Germany was divided into n number of places, and other n number of other particular countries were controlling the Germany. So Prussia has initiated the process of unification of Germany, and the Prussian king was Kaiser William I, and the Prussian chief minister was Otto von Bismarck. So Otto von Bismarck was very strong personality, and he was known as one man army, and he was great warrior. Okay, and Otto von Bismarck, with the help of his army and with the help of the support from the common people, he did he did 3 battles over the period of 7 years. है ना? 3 battles over the period of 7 years. So these 7 years are starting from 1864 to 71, and finally the unification will take place in 1871. So he did 3 battles, as I told you. So these 3 battles he fought with 3 countries. So first one is with first one is with Austria. Okay, second one is Denmark, and third one is with France. Fine. Austria, Denmark, and France. 3 fought. He did. With Austria, he fought in 1864. 1864 he fought with Austria. 1864 with Denmark. 1866, and with France 1871. Okay. So if you will calculate, it will be 7 years from 1864 to 1871. How many wars? 3 wars. And fortunately, all the 3 wars has been won by Otto von Bismarck. And after winning all the 3 wars, the Germany has been united. Okay, and this is the entire process of the unification of Germany. So once again I'm repeating, unification of Germany started by the Prussia, and the Prussian king was Kaiser William I, and the chief minister was Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck was excellent character. He was warrior, and he was also known as one man army. He was, with the help of his army and support of people, he did 3 wars over the period of 7 years. First one with Austria, second one with Denmark, third one with France. With Austria 1864, with Denmark 1866, and with France 1871. And fortunately all 3 particular war he has won, and after winning this all 3 war, finally Germany was united in 1871. So I hope till here picture is very much clear to all of you. Now we will start this unification of Britain. So always remember, this unification of Britain is also known as unification of strange case of Britain. Why it is known as a strange case of Britain? 2 points are there, है ना? First point is, this particular unification of Britain is started from 1688. I am writing here the date here. Okay, it started from 1688. And it will go up to 1801. So for more than 100 years the unification was going on only. So it was very lengthy process, है ना? And the second, why it was known as strange, here you can see so many war took place, people have been killed, fine. But here now no such war took place. It was a kind of peaceful, unification. So that two things you keep in mind. The first one was the time was very high, as well as the second one was it was comparatively peaceful, unification. So I hope this is clear to all of you. That is unification of Britain. So let's start unification of Britain. So basically unification of Britain, we will start from the 1688. You can see one image is visible to all of you. So in this image you can see very easily four particular places are visible. One is England, second one is Scotland, third one is Ireland, and the fourth one is Wales. Okay, so let's start one by one. Fine. So here now in this particular, if you will completely talk about this entire four regions, then it is known as British Isles. So British Isles is a kind of island where all these four ethnic communities are living. England people are speaking in English, Ireland people are speaking in Irish language, and Scotland people are speaking Scottish language. Gaelic is the language basically, and these Welsh people are known as Welsh people, है ना? So these are the different variety of their in this this particular island. Later in 1688 now, European people, by the passage, this English people, basically England, over the period of time they became very rich and powerful, है ना? You all know that so many places were under the control of England only. So by the passage of time, England became very powerful and very rich also, and they were dominating the parliament also, that is British Parliament. And they have because of their influence only, British Parliament has requested to the royal family that royal family should hand over their political power in the hand of British Parliament, है ना? And this successfully took place in 1688. So remember 1688, okay, the royal family has handed over their political power in the hand of English Parliament. Okay, once again I'm repeating, the royal family has handed over their political power in the hand of Parliament. And now the royal family will be only for the namesake. Like in India we have now president is only for the namesake, real power is in the hand of Parliament. So similarly the king and queen will be only for the namesake, ceremonial purpose, and the real power will be in the hand of Parliament. So this took place in which year? 1688. Fine. After that, the next very important year is 1707, है ना? 1707. Basically in this 1707, Act of Union took place. What took place? Act of Union. What is Act of Union? In this Act of Union now, England and Scotland both united together and formed Great Britain. What I said? England and Scotland united together and they both formed what? Great Britain. But here now the English people have dominated their culture, tradition, custom, belief and language over the Scottish people, and Scottish people culture and tradition were not that much promoted. Scottish people language were there, that was Gaelic, so Gaelic was completely neglected, and they were forced to speak in English language only, है ना? So that type of things were there, which was painful basically, है ना? So 1707, remember, Act of Union. Two particular countries united together, that is England plus Scotland, and they have formed Great Britain. I hope this is clear to all of you. Now the next very important year is 1801. Okay, 1801. So basically 1801, what took place? 1801, Ireland was there. Fine. So you just imagine about the Ireland. So Ireland was divided into two parts, that is North Ireland and South Ireland, है ना? So North Ireland basically Protestants were there, and South Ireland they were having the Catholics group as majority. And these British people, they were basically liking the Protestants and they were not liking that much the Catholics, because they are themselves having majority, that is Protestants only. Fine. So with the force they have incorporated the North Ireland into themselves, and the South Ireland, which were the Catholic dominated region, they became the independent country. Okay, so once again I'm repeating, Ireland, which was divided into two parts, North Ireland and South Ireland. North Ireland Protestants were there and South Ireland Catholics were there, है ना? Protestants and Catholics both are the part of Christian religion. Okay, like we have na in Jainism, Shwetambar and Digambar. So similarly in Christianity we have Protestant and Catholics. So north was Protestant and south was Catholics. So these Britishers have captured the North Ireland because they were liking Protestants and they were not liking Catholics that much. That is why the South Ireland became the independent nation, and today it is known as Republic of Ireland, hai na? And the North Ireland is known as British Ireland. Fine. So today you see the match is happening between India and Ireland. That is cricket match between India and Ireland. So that Ireland is a Republic of Ireland, na, the independent nation. Okay, I hope this is clear. So in 1801, the combination of England plus Scotland plus North Ireland is together called as United Kingdom. What it is called as? United Kingdom. Okay, so here you must remember in 1801 UK, that is United Kingdom, formed, and it is the combination of England plus Scotland plus Ireland, North Ireland basically, plus Wales also. Wales was from beginning, it was the part of England only. Fine. So I hope this is clear to everyone. When this United Kingdom has been formed, United Kingdom, why? Because they all part are united and king will represent. Okay, the king will be the ceremonial head, the nominal head will be the king only. That is why it is known as United Kingdom. Okay. After that they have also made English as their official language, national language, as well as they have also framed one new national flag which will be called as Union Jack. So what is the language of United Kingdom? English. What is the flag of United Kingdom? Union Jack. So I hope till here picture is clear to everyone. You can see in the image once the combination of England plus Scotland is known as Great Britain. The particular combination of England plus Scotland plus North Ireland is known as United Kingdom. And if we will completely include all the region, it will be known as British Isles. I hope this is clear to everyone. After that, I hope this unification of Britain, unification of Germany, unification of Italy is clear. And this all three topics are very, very, very important topic, and one question will definitely come in board examination, and maximum time 5 marks question come from this topic. So this is very, very important topic also. Now let's discuss about the next very important part, that is 1871. So 1871 we will discuss about two very important things, that is nationalism and imperialism and tension in Balkan region. So first of all I'll tell you about the nationalism and imperialism, and this tension in Balkan region is the part of this is the part of tension in Balkan region basically arises because of this imperialism policy only. Fine. So one by one we will discuss. So first of all I am explaining you about nationalism. So as I told you in beginning only, nationalism is a very positive term. It is basically the respect, pride and honor for your country. And here imperialism is just a very negative term, you can say, because in imperialism you are trying to extend the territory and area of your country by capturing others' land. For example, Britain. So Britain was trying to increase their power, their territory by capturing India, Sri Lanka, China, Australia. So basically Britain was following which policy? Imperialistic policy, where they are trying to increase their power, they are trying to increase their area by capturing over others' area. Fine. So this is very negative term. So I hope imperialism and nationalism is very much clear to all of you. Now we'll discuss about the tension in Balkan region. So let's start the Balkan region in detail. So this will be the last part of the entire chapter, and this is very, very interesting part also. And this also comes in examination, board examination, that write in detail about the tension in Balkan region and how it is related to World War I. So this type of question also comes. So let's start this Balkan region once. So Balkan region is a very big territory in Europe, where so many small parts are there, so many small areas are there. For example, Romania, Albania, Bulgaria, Croatia, Bosnia and Serbia. So these are the important regions are there from the Balkan area. And here now one thing I just want to tell you, that this all particular entire Balkan region was under the control of Ottoman Empire. On that time Ottoman Empire was very, very strong country was there, and in Ottoman Empire in present time it is known as Turkey. But what happened, by the passage of time the power of Ottoman Empire declined, as well as in this entire Balkan region now romanticism started. Romanticism is the cultural movement is started that no, we are, a part of European continent, we are Christian country, how we can be under the control of Islamic country. We once we were free, independent nation, now we are the control of other country. No, this cannot happen. So this type of nationalistic movement, the culturalistic movement started, the romanticism started in Balkan, and people revolted against the Ottoman Empire, and finally they got freedom. So all the particular small regions have now become the important independent nation. So freedom came to this particular areas. But since freedom was very new concept to them, they could not enjoy their freedom properly, and instead of helping each other, after becoming independent nation, instead of helping each other, they started fighting with each other. They were jealous with each other, है ना? So when they were fighting with each other, there was no symbol of unity. So this will be the symbol of weakness or strength. So yes, normally this will be the symbol of weakness, and their weakness will be taken advantage by the big powerful countries such as Britain, Russia, Austria, and some other countries were also there, who were having their close eye on the fighting of the Balkan region, and they all attacked on this Balkan region. Why? Because they wanted themselves to increase their power, their territory, by capturing this resourceful area of Balkan. And when this France, when this Germany, when this Russia and Austria-Hungary, they attacked on the Balkan region now. So later, instead of enjoying the resources of Balkan region, they started fighting with each other to control over the Balkan, and their fighting led to the World War I. And we all know that in World War I we have the two power, that is Allied power and the Central power, है ना? Allied power and the Central power, we have Allied power and the Central power. And you all know in the Allied and Central power, like Allied power we have the France, Britain, Russia, and from Central power we have the Germany and Austria-Hungary, है ना? So ultimately they have did battle for a couple of years, and finally who will win? Finally this Allied power won and this Central power lost. So this is the complete chapter from my side. I hope you have understood completely this chapter, and if you find any problem anywhere from this chapter, you can always comment below and let us know. We will feel free to help you always, है ना? So that's it from our side. You can see the complete chapter we have explained to you very nicely. Now we will meet you in the next video. If you have liked this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We will meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care. Thank you.